guys, happy Tuesday and welcome to another Mom Life video. This week's video is a very controversial subject. I wasn't sure about making this video, but I'm really passionate about this subject and I thought it would be a really fun way to do my own research report. I used to love, and if you don't know yet, this is my son Hendrix. He's usually in my videos and he's now 8 months old. Today's video is about co-sleeping and bed sharing. Now, I want to give a disclaimer here. I'm not a medical professional, and but everything that I'm going to say in this is going to be backed up with research. I'm going to put all my citations at the bottom, whether it's APA or MLA format, not sure yet, but I went deep down into this subject, and this is not just like, oh, I believe this is my opinion. These are backed with studies that are either done on primates or other mammals or even on children. So let's get right into it. The first thing I want to differentiate here is bed sharing and co-sleeping are not the same thing. Bed sharing is a form of co-sleeping, but co-sleeping does not mean you share a bed with your baby. And so they can be mutually exclusive. Bed sharing is when your newborn or your baby or toddler or child sleeps in the same bed as you. It's self-explanatory. They sleep in your bed. Co-sleeping is when your child is in the same room as you and is at like arm's length. So that could be in a little bassinet near you. It could be on an addition to your bed. Some people have like cribs that go on the side of their bed. So that's co-sleeping. It's really that they're a proximity away, that if you can hear them, you can tend your arm, and you're like there, you know, even if you don't necessarily want them touching you on the side. So I wanted to differentiate those things because they're often just put together and it can really make data look worse than it actually is. Now, when a baby this is unfortunate, but when a baby passes away in a crib, it's automatically SIDS. And when a baby passes away when they are bed sharing, they automatically assume that it is asphyxiation or that the parent rolled over on them, and that's just like automatic, and then that goes to the news, and it's put in a way we all know how news can be and how it's very easy to make something look worse than it is, or to bring up statistics and make them look bad. So I want to put that all out there. My baby is very noisy, but that's okay. So I want to just put everything out on the table. I want this to be I don't want it to be biased, but I want it to be research-backed and kind of give you guys why I do it and then the science behind it. We are mammals, and all mammals in the world sleep with their young. So when babies are born, they cannot regulate their breathing, they cannot regulate their body temperature, their heartbeat, and stuff like that. And so that's why being close to their mother or skin to skin is viewed as being so beneficial. Even in preemies, and if you're in the hospital with them, they always try to do skin to skin because it is proven that it's beneficial to the development of the baby. And we kind of are told that that stops there, you know, like skin to skin is super beneficial. Yeah, babies thrive on it, but then when you get home, don't sleep with your baby. Let me take my baby. Did you drop it? Yeah, so you're told that skin to skin is super beneficial, but then that you shouldn't sleep with your baby and that that's bad and that basically you're gonna squash him. I'd like to point out that most, if not all, studies of positional asphyxiation, anything that's linked to bed sharing, is often linked to either parents that are intoxicated or have taken some kind of substance that makes them unaware. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, well, I don't sleep with my baby because I'm a very light sleeper and any noise distracts me. And when I hear that, in my head, I'm like, well, that's because nature made us so that if our baby's in distress, you can hear them and you can tend to them, and kind of vice versa as well. So when a baby is crying in the middle of the night, it's for survival. They're crying because they need to voice out that there's something wrong. And so this Western culture concept that we have that, you know, a baby crying is just trying to manipulate you is so unfortunate, because think about humans at the base, we are mammals, and just think of us if we weren't in like these glorious houses and, you know, these jobs and whatnot, and just like you in the woods, your baby's sleeping, your baby's gonna cry when he needs your help because he can't talk, he can't move, he can't walk, he can't decide to get up and go get a glass of water if his throat's dry and he can't breathe. Like, you never know. And so these are all normal things, and I guess if you don't want these things to happen, like these are things that happen, excuse you, that happen with having a baby. And so by wanting a baby, these are all things that you should expect. And I wish more people warned moms beforehand, like, why is this happening? Not just like, oh, my baby cries all the time, but why? Figure out why and solve the problem, and you won't have that problem anymore. We have 2 kids, and we've been really attentive to such problems, and nobody in our house has a problem with sleeping. This is from personal experience and also from research. Now I'm going to go into the topic of breastfeeding, because again, I'm going with the natural way of breastfeeding. Again, this is not a for or against breastfeeding. This is just, I'm going with the research, and we're going to take that route in terms of like science and biology. When you breastfeed, our milk is low fat. And so low fat milk are found in mammals where the baby needs to stay close to the mother, and they need to feed often. And why they need to feed more often than, let's say, formula, which a lot of people say, well, I switched to formula and then my baby sleeps through the night, which is great. And I have no, I'm not taking a position on that at all. Like, fed is best. But the why they sleep longer is actually because it's much harder for them to digest. And so it takes so much energy out of them to digest that they just sleep longer. And breastfeeding, your breast milk is very low in fat and can be digested really quickly by nature because it is made, so it can be digested because it's made for their underdeveloped gut. And so that's why sometimes they need to drink more at night. And so I think the percentage of women that leave in the study that I found was around 73% of women leave the hospital breastfeeding, but it becomes very hard on the mother when the mother has to get up, 2-3 times a night and then go in the rocking chair, which I only use for videos. But you go in your rocking chair and your baby needs you and you can't be in your bed. So it gets very strenuous on the mother. And that's why a lot of mothers will quit breastfeeding, because it is hard, and it becomes even harder when you have to spend 3/4 of your night outside of your bed. By recommending or by teaching people how to bed share or co-sleep in a way that makes it easier for women, then that could increase the length of time that women breastfeed and could overall just benefit the child in general. So I'm making this video especially because, guys, I was against bed sharing before I had a baby. In my family, nobody bed shared. Everybody was in a crib schedule, and it was you breastfeed for a couple weeks and then that's it, formula and all that. So I'm really not coming from a background of this. It's really through experience and research that I kind of wanted to go the natural way and kind of not go against anything our bodies would want. And so by listening to our bodies, I find our life is much easier. And so that's why this subject is so close to my heart, and I just want to share that knowledge so that maybe I could help somebody make an informed decision, somebody that's being told, let's say by their family or something, to do something else, just to do what's good for you and what's good in your heart. And it's through really doing research that I changed my vision on things. All right, so now I want to jump into the pros and the cons of bed sharing and co-sleeping. More notably, bed sharing. The benefits of the baby being close to the mother went from infancy. And I wrote these down because I want this to be factual. So I did my research and wrote down the key points that I wanted to mention in the video. So I'll be looking at my list, and if I touch it, he stops breastfeeding. So it's down here. Stop pulling my hair. Stop it. He's laughing. Okay, so the benefits of co-sleeping. The first real amazing benefit is that it is directly linked with a decrease in chances in SIDS. And I know that this is, again, a controversial subject because nobody really knows what SIDS is and why it happens, but research studies find that there's a direct correlation between increased bed sharing and co-sleeping with a decrease in SIDS. So we have actually one of the highest rates of SIDS in the US and Canada. And it is directly linked with the fact that babies are left really long periods of time alone. And who knows what happens because they're not made to be alone. And so by not knowing, they just call it SIDS. And it's so unfortunate because it happens to hundreds of thousands of babies. By being close to you, I feel, and studies also show that if something happens, if they cough, they regurgitate, they have acid reflux, whatever, their breathing is irregular, they have a gasp of air, anything that happens, because they're close, you will naturally wake up because you are intended to, and you will tend to your baby that's in distress. And by leaving them alone for long periods of time, you can't be there. And last but not least, let's try to hammer this out while he's in a good mood. Okay, so temperature regulation. Babies cannot regulate their own temperature. That's why we need to dress them so much when they're not on us, because they can't regulate their temperature. Decrease in anxiety and stress. This comes from, my lens is so dirty, guys. I hope you can see properly. Okay, so the decrease in stress, it comes from a study that they did on primates, and they took away some primates from their mothers and gave them a food dispensary instead of co-sleeping with the mother, and they found really big differences in stress levels, anxiety levels from the baby chimps being left crying with their mother not tending to them, and that directly impacted not only their development but their anxiety and stress levels. So that's that. Both the mother and the baby will get better sleep if they are co-sleeping or bed sharing. Being at an arm's reach if something goes wrong can only be beneficial, as this will decrease the chances of SIDS. Breathing sync. So I wrote this down because babies have very irregular breathing, and how I actually know that for a fact is Hendrix, we have the Miku care, which is up here, and the only way I could have him in his bed was by having something that monitors his breathing, because that was my biggest scare, was that he would stop breathing and that I would never know and then just show up. And that happens so much, guys. It's so common. So I actually have his breathing and it tracks it. And I can actually see that his breathing is irregular. There's some days his breathing, like sometimes or for 5 minutes, it'll be different. And so I truly feel that by having them near you, they could sync their bodies. And to this day, Western or any scientists have never found a way to reproduce the benefits of having skin to skin and having the body sync. So it's just like, it's mind-blowing that we could go to the moon, but we still can't reproduce that connection. So that's a fun fact. More nursing. So because they're sleeping with you, they're able to, I don't know why it's always a competition between parents, like, oh, my baby only wakes up once a night. And like, I'm even guilty of doing that. And honestly, who cares? But yeah, that's like oh, my baby doesn't wake up during the night or stuff like that. I also found from research that more nursing, like more amounts of time, can actually be better for their immune system and overall development. Also, this is actually for pumping, because I was supposed to pump and I ended up not pumping because I used the Haka. I have a video about that too. But your breast milk has hormones in it around midnight, and those hormones are given, and if you breastfeed, which is crazy because I didn't know this, but I actually always put Hendrix to bed at midnight, but so basically my last feeding had hormones that put babies to sleep and also put you to sleep. So you sleep better by breastfeeding around midnight. And so that's kind of why since the first night he slept a 5-hour night. I've never ever had him not sleep, or I've never spent a whole night up. So I truly believe that your body is made to do this and to make it easier. I think that all the hardships that you get are from going against nature. So that's why I really wanted to make this video and kind of share that. So it's linked to better absorption of their calories of their feedings, which contributes to better development. So now I'm going to talk about the cons, which are the ones that doctors tell you, and those are positional asphyxiation and crushing your baby. So these are often linked to either intoxication, taking a substance, or that your breath has lower amounts of oxygen, which are linked to the inhale of tobacco. And a pointer on that is that we are the only mammal that purposely takes poison, so either cigarettes or alcohol or drugs. And I'm not condemning that. Like, I have had a glass of wine. It's not, this is not, I'm just stating facts. So we're the only mammals that do that, which change our state of sleep, which would lead to you either crushing or turning over your baby or whatnot. I also wanted, oh no, you fell. Here. Okay guys, when everything else fails, you give wipes. Wipes are the best toy, the best investment. So I wanted to kind of close out this video by putting yourself in the position of an infant. We don't really like sleeping alone. Like, whether I've even asked single people and they like sleeping with their cats, they like sleeping with their dogs, with their partners. So you bed share with your partner usually, and for the most part. And also that we expect these little tiny human beings that are super vulnerable to sleep alone. And so it's a lot to ask for a baby, and especially now with what they say of leaving absolutely nothing in the crib. So you're basically leaving them in like this little cage with no warmth from another body and just with nothing. So it's kind of normal that they don't like it and that they scream and they cry. Nobody would like it. We all sleep with blankets. So that is how I wanted us to put ourselves, like to have empathy for them kind of thing. Everything you hear about co-sleeping and how it is so dangerous is kind of the same. If you could relate it to another subject, it would be like, you know, bringing a baby in a car increases the risk of the baby dying from a car accident. And you would say, yes, most car accidents are caused by either being intoxicated or distracted. And so because of that, you should never bring a child in a car. So that's kind of how you would relate to co-sleeping, whether it's in a crib or beside you or at arm's length. It's not because some bad things happen when people do it that you should never do it. Otherwise, nobody would take planes, nobody would drive cars, nobody would do this. I wanted to really make this a biology versus cultural kind of aspect. I really wanted to do this to maybe be watched with an open mind. It's not at all to guilt trip you or to make you feel bad about what you did. I thought it was best for a baby to sleep in a crib, and I just decided to dive deep into this subject to enlighten and to learn and to kind of just go with nature. So with that being said, I would love if you guys could share in your comments what you think about all this. Again, I'm going to put the websites and all the citations for this research. I don't want any heated debates, or this is not an insult towards anybody, but I'd love your feedback. Thank you guys so much for those of you who made it to the end. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you guys on Thursday with another growth video. Love you guys very much.